Hello and welcome to the Unusual Stories podcast. My name is Wojciech Salski, I'll be your host for today. And before we begin, may I just remind you, if you find this podcast entertaining, useful, in any way, shape or form, enhancing your daily toil, then please, don't forget to subscribe or click the follow button. There is an option also to, make a notification. So whenever the new episode is out, you will be notified that it's available for you to listen. And if you'd like to support the podcast otherwise, then please follow the link below. There is an option to, maybe send me an email, suggest a book to read, maybe mention something that is working well or something that isn't. And also, of course, if you'd like to share this episode or any other episode with one of your colleagues or family members, then that's definitely the best way of advertising the podcast further. It helps me to grow the show, and it definitely enhances the experience for all of us. So, I appreciate that deeply. And for all of you that have already done so, thank you so much. It means a lot to me. It's one of those things that does keep me going, especially when I'm having a difficult day in terms of recording, or maybe I'm under the weather a little bit like today, or I have a bad hair day and I really don't want to be in front of a screen. And I feel like, it's just empowering to hear, all of your kind words and gestures. So I appreciate that deeply, and thank you so much. Without you, the show would not really be much of a show. So yeah, I guess we'll kick it off. In terms of today's episode, as you can hear, maybe my voice is a bit raspy. I've been under the weather for the past few days, so pardon this quality. I hope this voice does not, affect the quality too much. In terms of the episode today, I've decided that, we're nearing the end of the season, and I've looked back at the books we've explored, and I've been thinking, what topic or which sort of themes have we maybe delved deeper into, and what would fit these last two episodes? Because obviously, this is not the end of the show all over, but every season I aim to have like 10 episodes each. And then, there is a very exciting time coming with the rebranding that I'm going to offer you some episodes on in the coming weeks. And I also have some ideas for sort of out of the ordinary episodes, a few monologues. I've been collecting some ideas, and there's definitely a lot happening in the world right now that I would also like to maybe share my insight on, just in terms of maybe, for myself into the future, and also for yourself to consider these things. And so I've decided that this book by Joe Dispenza, called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, is what we're gonna explore today. And for next week, I will yet decide. I feel like it might be, yet again, one of those spiritually focused, a bit more inside-looking books. We've explored over the past weeks many aspects of our daily life. We've talked about ideas affecting our outlook on life. We've talked about the way screens, and in particular social media, might hinder our progress. And so I thought, this might just be the book for this week and for this month as a nice gesture. I've read it a while back, a few months back actually, and I did enjoy it. The book is very practical in terms of the practice of meditation and visualization. So some people call it manifesting, I guess. So I'll share with you some ideas. The last part of the episode will also be dedicated to this whole meditation practice. I'll, yet again, we've already had a few episodes about talking about meditation practices and different ways, different traditions approach this contemplation practice, you could say, or a prayer. My plan for today is to share with you the insights from the book, but also at the very end I will explain why I've actually not taken on this particular meditation guidance offered by the author. Rather, I have a slightly different one that is more suitable for me, and I'll explain what that suitability means. So, in terms of the first topic, first major theme, I guess, throughout the book, the author basically offers us an insight into something we've explored a few times before. And, I feel like the best way to summarize it is, in a way, what kind of a filter, what goggles, what glasses do you see the world through? And so, the author poses this idea early in the book that thoughts and emotions are what shape our reality. And this is not necessarily to say that as you encounter things and people and, buildings, trees, on your way to work, maybe in the morning, your thoughts and your emotions made them to be there. Although one could argue how the quantum field works, but let's leave that aside. I'll come back to that maybe at some point as a topic. But definitely your thoughts and emotions, the way you feel about these happenings and these encounters, will shape the way you perceive them. And we've talked about this before, if you remember. And if you're new with our podcast, then, I'll put the link below to a few different shows, a few different episodes that touched on this idea. But, long story short, in a way, it's the idea that our thoughts and emotions actively create our reality. If I'm in a bad mood, for example, going to work, rushing, maybe I'm feeling a bit late, anyone that stumbles upon me, maybe someone, crosses the street in front of me, making me to stop, or maybe there is some issue at the counter when I'm buying some, lunch before going to work, and I'm in a hurry, I'm annoyed, I'm agitated, and so I will, if I'm not skillful, if I don't restrain myself, and if I allow the emotions to take control of me in a way, I might, shout at someone, or I might hurry them up. I might be abruptly, unpleasant, basically. And this is the whole point of the glasses, the filter, the perception, your perspective on reality. The moment you are approaching your day with a happy, excited state, you will find it to be, a much more pleasant experience overall than if you are experiencing the day from the standpoint of being annoyed. Maybe you're scared of something, maybe there is a problem that is wearing you down, and then any other encounter you might have with someone will be tainted by these emotions. And the author goes a step further in the way the thoughts and emotions shape our reality. But my question to you right now, straight away, as sort of maybe a little reflection moment, is, what are you looking for throughout your day? Because whatever you focus on, whatever you think about, will expand in your life. This is this idea that we've explored from the book by Deepak Chopra called Seven Spiritual Laws of Success. This idea that basically what you look for will manifest more. It's like you have a focus, right? There is a certain attention that you're paying right now to either maybe the video of me talking, or maybe you are just listening to me as you do, maybe you work out at the moment, maybe you're driving. Wherever your attention is, wherever your focus is, that's what in a way expands in your mind, right? And in the same way, if, for example, you're very recently you're very focused on this idea of getting a new car, and there is a particular model that you're looking for, that you are hoping to get, I can bet you, I can take a bet that you will notice more of these kind of models, these kind of cars, as you go throughout your day, simply because your subconscious and conscious mind over time will sort of lock in on these particular items or ideas, right? So in a very in a very similar matter, in a very similar manner, if you are looking, for example, for things to be grateful for, if you are perceiving your day, and I will offer you some invitation for that practice later on, if you are perceiving over the course of your day things to look out for as miracles, or happy coincidences, or things to be grateful for, over time you can turn it into a habit of noticing these things. And I am certain that in the same way that you can look for things to be annoyed at throughout your day, you are also able to look for many things to be happy about throughout your day. And these inside, oftentimes subconscious decisions will inevitably lead to you perceiving your day to be a good day or a bad day. So regardless of what is going on, and of course there are some extreme cases where things are going so awry that it's hard to argue whether this day could be considered a good day. But if it's an average day, the power of you choosing what to feel in any given moment is exactly what makes that day and that minute, that hour, that week, ultimately a good or a bad experience, whatever good or bad means for you. So from an interesting standpoint here, I just wanted to share with you this funny little thing that I've started practicing, I don't know, a few months back now. Basically, I've been reading quite a bit and sort of meditating on these ideas that there are many miracles happening in my life on a daily basis. And one of these miracles is that I'm very lucky. I do, we've talked about this in the episode, which one was it? I think it was Thinking Fast and Slow, maybe. We've talked about this idea that actually there has been a study done that people who perceive themselves to be lucky tend to be more lucky than those who don't. And if you do consider yourself to be lucky simply by, if it's not really fake it till you make it, right? It's simply your perception of what you consider. And it's not like the moment you say, oh, I'm a lucky person, everything works out. Although maybe it will for you, and I'll be really happy to call you a lucky person. But since we can choose whether or not to believe such truth in the same way that it can be empowering to think that I'm going in the right direction in my life, but I can also choose to think of myself on a daily basis as someone who's not going in the right direction in their life. Both of these are just my subjective perspectives and their opinions, really, unless I start studying and sort of analyzing my performance maybe. But for the sake of the argument in terms of the luck, the idea of luck, I started considering myself to be a lucky person. I looked back at my experiences and I thought, there were many situations in my life over the course of my life that I would consider to be quite happy miracles or happy coincidences. And so I jokingly started this tradition, this habit maybe, of believing that I'm a lucky person, and one of the way I express my luck in the day is I find a coin. And jokes aside, ever since that happened, there are less days in my week, an average week, that I don't find a coin than days that I do. Even though not many people use coins these days anyway, right? I would even argue that it has become more and more extreme in some cases. For example, I've ended up finding a fiver at some point, or a tenner, which I would laughingly say to my girlfriend that basically sets me up for however many years forward, because I assumed that every day I would find just a penny, just 1 cent, which which basically means that if I find 10 pounds, I'm sorted for like 10,000 days. Just to keep my streak, similarly to the streak on Duolingo. The point here, though, I'm trying to make is, in a way, of course, not every day I find a coin, and not every day I have that reason to consider myself to be lucky that day. But because over time I turn this into a habit of considering myself to be a lucky person, I have no doubt it, at least at the minimum of it all, increases my well-being during that day, during any day, because I consider myself to be a lucky person, to be a happy person. And so, in a way, I am faking it, and I am making it. I'm making it up, if anything. I'm creatively perceiving this to be true for myself. And so, I would invite you to consider if there is a certain state, certain emotion, certain way you'd like to feel or perceive yourself. And I would urge you to try and come up with a way, a mantra, to remind yourself of that often throughout your day. In a similar manner, I've listened to this idea, and this is part that is actually shared in the book as well. There is this idea, the science behind visualization and manifesting, right? This idea that your body can be tricked by your mind to experience things as if they're happening right now, even if they aren't. And this is something that we've discussed before, and this is something that Tony Robbins, for example, is very popular, on this topic, on this idea of raising your standards, raising your energy. And visualization and manifestation is something that professional athletes do, and success people do. You do as well. Anytime you are preparing for a big interview, or maybe you're thinking whether or not to ask that special person on a date, anytime you're running inside your head a certain script, an idea, an experience, an adventure that is yet to come, you are in a way manifesting, visualizing it. Of course, this is not to say that once you think about it once, you're sorted. I don't think there are any such shortcuts. I do believe it takes effort and time, and emotion, and like truly putting yourself in that state. But it's at this point, it's a practice that people just do. If you don't believe at this point that this is the case, if you perceive this to be absurdity, then I would urge you to explore this topic further. The idea that visualizing your experience as if it already happened, or as if it's happening right now, while you're calmly sitting down, or maybe just lying in your bed at night or in the morning, you can basically over time rewire your brain, right? This neuroplasticity idea. And according to Joe Dispenza, this has a huge impact on our perception of ourselves, because in the same manner, the way your story inside your mind, when you're imagining your success, could be a story of failure or could be a story of fear. So let's say just as an example, you're preparing for a big interview and you, for whatever reason, because you are anticipating that you're not going to do well, you dwell on this as something scary. You perceive this interview to be way over your abilities. Maybe you expect the interviewer to be unpleasant. Maybe you expect yourself to be, struggling to find the right words, or maybe you have this inside, inner story, and a certain story about yourself that you don't do well at interviews because maybe you've had a really bad experience before at an interview. Maybe you made a fool of yourself once. Well, who didn't? But if you're dwelling on such emotions and such ideas, in the same way, you're in a way manifesting, you're visualizing these. And so, it doesn't take much imagination and mind, I think, to anticipate that someone who sort of winds themselves up like that before an interview will have a worse experience at the interview than someone who comes into the interview excited and happy and sort of, feeling powerful and lucky and grateful and, maybe feeling like they are the right person for the job. Because think about it, there will be a very different, you will act very differently if you come into the interview anticipating that the person is going to be rude, that you will struggle, that you will fail. You will have a different way of speaking. You will have a different way of even, standing up, sitting down. Your body language will be different than if you come into the interview excited, happy, being sure that the person is going to be wonderful for you and that's the right job. And, of course, from my experience, this is not to say that every interview, even, if you've done loads of visualization and preparation for it, will go well. But I do think that whenever I had a better sense of what to expect and I was excited about it, especially if I considered the employer or the opportunity to be truly wonderful, I did better than when I sort of didn't maybe fully want it, or maybe I wasn't that much interested in the particular topic, or maybe I just felt like this is, too big for me or too scary or whatever. So, the question for you here is like, basically, what do you want to create? What kind of an emotion, what kind of an outcome do you want to have? And the next time you have a frustrated thought coming up, or maybe next time someone makes you feel angry for whatever reason, the big part of mindfulness is to recognize that anger as it happens, but instead of letting it take over and sort of, run rampant and basically turn you into rather a rude person, kind of stop, accept it and let it go. Choose a more skillful path. Be more, calm about it, more composed. And this is something that through the practice of contemplation, meditation, prayer, whatever you want to call it, through the practice of mindfulness, Joe Dispenza encourages us in the book to take hold and control our emotions and thoughts. And here I just wanted to sort of echo this idea from the many books that we've explored by David Hawkins, that, we've had this sort of scale of consciousness, right? There was the highest level of consciousness, and then somewhere in the middle was the level of courage, which is supposedly the neutral level, above which all the positive energy is stored, and then below it are all the fearful, angry, shameful states, which are much lower energy-wise, much lower vibration, much more force, much less power. If if you take this into what we've just discussed, if you consider this idea that, when we say I'm not feeling well, I can say I'm feeling down, right? Lately I've been feeling quite down. I'm not too happy. I'm feeling down, which for me translates into I'm in a low energy state, right? I'm maybe upset, angry, whatever. I'm feeling guilt or shame. And then I'm feeling up. I'm upbeat. I'm excited. I'm enthusiastic. So it's enthused and enthusiastic, basically inspirited from Greek. These will be much higher states, right? If you're excited about something, you're much more potent energy-wise than someone who's quite gloomy and upset. These are just sort of to drive the point home, but the idea that we become what we think about most of the time, I don't remember who said that, but this is one of those quotes that really comes back to me every other time I'm talking about these ideas. And also the quote from Confucius, he who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right. This is where Joe Dispenza's approach to thoughts and emotions shaping your reality, I think really resonates with me, and I hope as well with you. Basically, what you choose to feel in any given moment and the way you act upon whatever is happening to you will inevitably lead to certain results. So even though one could argue we have a limited free will, because there are things happening in the world, there are situations in the world that are taking place that are beyond our control, we always have a choice of how to act upon those things, how to react to them, how to take them in. Do I consider this accident that happened to be a blessing or a curse? It's a choice, really. Of course, there will be moments when even the most mindful of your practices might be shaken by a trouble, because life is, from time to time, a struggle. But the idea of allowing yourself to, in a way, filter your day-to-day experience and what you want to focus on can be very empowering. And I find this very empowering. It's something that I remind myself often about, especially before going to sleep. I've employed this practice of, I'm quite an overthinker. I spend a lot of time in the evening, just before bed, when I'm already, sort of in bed, kind of shuffling from side to side. I would often think a lot about what happened or what's going to happen. Sometimes I struggle to fall asleep, so I have more of these, thoughts and sort of ruminating and stuff. And one practice that really has come in handy over the years is this idea of just listing what I'm grateful for. What fun, what miracle, what amazing thing happened today, or what I'm looking forward to as well. So instead of, it's a choice, right? There are many things that are coming up that I might be looking forward to, and there might be quite a few things coming up that I'm not looking forward to. But it's my choice what I want to bring into this moment. I can be anticipating the excitement of spring coming and me being able to go to Poland for Easter holidays with my loved ones, or I can think about the anticipation of the coming up exams for one of my work-related courses that I'm somewhat, anticipating whether or not I will do well. And both of these are equally coming up, and it's my choice what I want to focus on. And in the same way, I can choose to list 20 things, 5 things, even 3, 1 thing that I'm grateful for that happened today, as I could find 10, 20, 2, 1 55 things that have annoyed me today, or situations that I'm upset about today. And one way I'm gonna go to sleep feeling happy, and the other way I'm gonna go to sleep feeling rather annoyed. So, this is something that is a very realistic, even putting aside the visualization part, this is a very realistic choice, and each one of us can make, and you can make it every day at any time. What are you focusing your attention on? The idea from Deepak Chopra that attention energizes and intention transforms. So attention makes things go bigger, right? It's almost like you're kind of looking closer and closer as you bring it in front of your mind. So now, talking about this, we've talked about the future, and we sort of touched upon the past a little bit, but now the second major theme that obviously the author is diving into, since the title of the book is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, is the explanation of how over the course of your childhood and over the course of your life, you're basically running a set of cyclical programs. And many of them are subconscious, many of them are basically set for you in your childhood, many of them are dictated by some traumas you might have had and some experiences that truly shaped you. And unless you really contemplate and notice them, you might go through your life fully not realizing that this is something that you do. So first, we've talked about habits, right? We've had a special episode on this. I'll put the link below. We've also had the episode on the 7 habits of highly effective people. So all of these habits, in a way, are pointing to the same idea. Your mind is an exquisite device, right? It's amazing. It's like the ultimate nature created thing, I guess. But since it has a computing power and it is limited, there is only so much energy you can burn throughout your day, and there's only so much hours in the day for you to put the work in, and you gotta sleep as well. Your exquisite mind and body has to be really smart at preserving energy. And one of the ways in which it does is by running subconscious programs. And these programs are basically like shortcuts, in a way, a more efficient systems, patterns of behavior. So, for example, there is a certain way you brush your teeth in the morning. We've talked about this so many times, I might as well just run through it with you one more time, but it's funny, I have a déjà vu here. There is a certain way you brush your teeth in the morning. And if you observe yourself, you are doing basically the same set of actions every morning and every evening, and hopefully that's the case for you. Maybe even sometimes throughout the day, depending on your needs. So, you don't really think much of your next move when you're brushing your teeth. It just happens. And what one could argue, it's a muscle memory. True, exactly. In the same way that you're a horse rider, or maybe you're a martial artist, maybe you swim, whatever activities that engage your body you do, over time these activities become your habits. There is a certain way you walk. It's not obvious that you walk the same way as everyone else does. You don't. You probably walk like your father, or you walk like your mother, or you walk like an amalgam of the two. Because as children, we're really great at imitating. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. So we imitate our parents in their behaviors. We observe them closely, and we truly become, in many ways, copies of their behavior and their patterns. Now, let's extend this habitual activity and patterns to your mind and thought patterns. So, for example, this idea, you might come from a family in which there was this idea that, I don't know, money is the root of all evil, and rich people are filthy rich, right? Maybe, there's always not enough money to go around, and there are people that are basically stealing the money from you, and overall, you struggle, your family struggles financially because of these whatever other external forces. This is also a way of perception, right? It's a certain story. Now, if you have that story told to you over and over and over again throughout your childhood or adolescent life, you might find yourself being now an adult and having a limiting belief of, I never have enough money, or I always struggle to make my ends meet, or, everyone who is rich had to do something illegal to get there. Whatever that limiting belief might be, whether you consciously are aware of it or not, it is running a certain script of thought patterns in your brain, in your mind, whenever something takes place. So, for example, let's say that your car broke down. And if you are the kind of person that perceives the world through these goggles of there is not enough money to go around and I'm always struggling, you might have a first thought about the car breaking down as, oh my God, I will have to spend so much money again on this. Always there is some way of me basically not making my ends meet, and yet again I've been saving up so much and now I'm gonna lose it all because this car just broke down. Why is it always happening to me? This is the kind of limiting belief, a pattern that basically is your choice. Obviously, until you make yourself aware of that, and until you make a conscious choice to make it over time, it is only a habit, a pattern, a thought pattern of a sort, and until it's subconscious, it's very, very dangerous, because ultimately, unless someone points it out to you, maybe your loved one, or maybe someone who is a trusted friend, or maybe by this podcast you've now just realized that this is the kind of pattern you're running in your mind. Maybe there is a different pattern. Maybe you have a limiting belief that no one wants you. Maybe you say to yourself again and again that there is no one out there for me because you've had some bad experiences with dating before. All of these are ultimately kind of a prophecy in the making. If we consider the visualization and manifesting to be applicable for future as well as the past, and if we do consider that your body does not recognize what is when you're visualizing these ideas and thoughts, then isn't it a suitable thesis to make that by you running this script of there is not enough money for me to go around, or no one loves me, you're basically sending this signal out to the universe? And if you remember from Paulo Coelho's Alchemist, this quote that whenever you make a decision, the universe conspires to make it a possibility, somewhat of a sort. These are the not exact quote. In the same way, if you are asking for trouble with your money, the universe will, I believe, find a way of making that come true, because the universe, or God, or whatever you perceive it to be, does not judge. It's not for them, him, it to judge. So if you are sending out the energy of there is not enough money for me, or there is always something happening to me and I never can, make enough money, you're basically asking for this. Now, the author says here, and this is one of the quotes, to change is to think greater than how we feel. To change is to act greater than the familiar feelings of the memorized self. And this is the point, right? Whether you connect yourself with your past experiences, and whether these past experiences are positive or negative, is very, very important. In the same way, whether you connect yourself with your future anticipation or future hope is very, very important. For example, and people tend to vary, and across the many people you have in your life, there's probably quite a few different approaches to this. I'm very future driven. If there is something I overthink, is the future. I obviously, every now and then when I do end up doing some stupid thing, I might ruminate upon it a little bit. But over the past few years, I've definitely grown to be more accustomed to what happened and sort of let it go. But I struggle to let go of the anticipated future. So if there is something coming up, even if it's something very pleasant that I'm looking forward to, because I'm so focused on the future, oftentimes I overthink in that manner, and in a way I'm living in the future rather than living in the present. Now, we'll come back to this living in the present moment in a moment. Now, let's consider living in the past versus living in the future. The author points out that for us to change our thought patterns, to develop a new habit, to change your life, we have to kind of let go of these past experiences, past behaviors, maybe behaviors that got you where you are right now. There is this idea, rather a radical one, although I would argue it's not that radical at all, that you are exactly where you should be based on what you've done in your past. And basically, to take this idea further, there is this maybe phenomena, this idea, this concept that your current situation, financially, emotionally, physically, career-wise, is an exact print of what your spiritual subconscious self has aimed for. And so if you want to raise your life, raise your energy, raise your standards, you will have to change inside first to become an attractive, to attract wealth or to attract love. You need to become the attractive person. This is something we've explored recently, right? So if you consider that as within, so without, ask and you shall be given, seek and you shall find, knock and it will be opened upon you, as the Bible says, the manifestation is within you. And, I would argue that this is a good estimate. I do consider, I do think there are many limiting beliefs yet to be discarded by me to slowly but surely ascend this ladder of my own spiritual, physical, mental, financial development. And I'm pretty sure your experience is very similar. Now, a very, very big thing here is this idea that we are perfect at adopting to our environment. If anything, we're like the ultimate adaptation machines, as humans, I mean. We go so far with adopting to the environment that we adopt the environment to us, which is something that not many animals or beings that we know of so far in the universe can do. And this is probably that, God-given creative spark maybe within us. That's what I believe, at least. So the thing with this being adapted, easily adapted and manipulated is, for example, think about it, and this is just based on my experience, but I can imagine you have a relevant experience in your life, or maybe someone you know. If you've moved to a different country, or maybe you went for an exchange program, or maybe you were just put in a position that you had no other choice but. And this is the kind of, this is this idea of, if you want to take the island, burn the boats. I moved to the UK for studies, shy of 9 years ago, I think, more or less. It's been a while. And, of course, before coming to the UK, I already had fairly good understanding of the language. I've visited a couple of times, but think about it. I had to go and adopt to a new university regime. I had to find a job. I had to understand how the culture of the local place is run. I had to find new friends. I had to find new, new ways of living, a new diet, quite frankly. And I sort of, obviously, I've taken, a pinch of my childhood home with me. So there are patterns of behavior that I still have, which are based on the way my parents brought me up. But a big part of assimilating, becoming a part of the British culture, British life, now being in Scotland, becoming somewhat of a Scottish person in a way that I, go about my daily business, over time it becomes the norm. And this is the point. Over time, whatever you will be doing becomes the norm. Whatever right now might feel like something scary, if you do it 100 times, probably even if you do it once, it will no longer be as scary as you perceive it to be. And we can take this as an empowering lesson, an encouragement that whatever you perceive that you might be not ready for, maybe you think like you will feel like an imposter when you started, over time it will become the norm. When I started the podcast, I didn't really know what I was doing. I just recorded rather low quality first episode. You can check it out. Not really knowing what is this about. And over time, I've grown used to speaking to the microphone. Then I've grown used to being on the screen, kind of, talking to myself, but also seeing myself in this little device I'm using, I'm blessed with. And by now, it's something that I feel quite comfortable about. While at the very beginning, it was rather, kind of stressful, and definitely I've done some cuts back in the day. I used to edit my videos very early on, and then over time I've grown accustomed to this idea that I don't need to edit them at all. And unless I recite something, which is obviously, there is quality in editing it, just to make it sound better. Unless I'm doing that, I will not cut it, and simply for the sake of keeping it real, right? So now, coming back to this cycles of behavior, let's focus on your morning, because this is the part where we're gonna go into the meditation practice. In your morning, it is for a reason that the majority of traditions and majority of sort of contemplative and spiritual practices focus on the morning and the evening. A quick, simple answer for this is these are the moments when we are closest to our subconscious, simply because we are closest to our dreaming state, which is where our subconscious dwells. So the thing here is also a very practical one. In the morning and in the evening, you are much less likely to be disrupted by the world. Especially if you wake up in the morning and you don't, and I will emphasize this again, you don't connect to the world before reconnecting with yourself. Now, I know this might sound weird for you if you've not done this before, but certainly this is one of those things that, even myself, sometimes I struggle with, especially, there are days, especially when I'm anticipating something to take place, that I don't stop myself from reaching for the phone in the morning. Although, especially after coming back from Kuwait, where if it wasn't for meditation in the morning and my morning walk at the beach, I would probably have gone insane simply out of being lonely and rather distressed from my work experience. And for that, feel free to explore the episode, My Kuwaiti Adventure. I'll put the link below for you because that one's a cool one. In the morning, you have a choice of especially in the morning, but in the evening as well. We've already talked about the evening. In the morning, you have a choice on what to focus on. And especially the first 10, 30, some would say an hour, some would even say first 2 hours. I would say first 2 hours. In your first hour, let's say, of your waking day, you have the power to basically establish the energy for yourself for the day. And if you choose to focus on all the things that are going wrong with the world, maybe by straight away, opening your phone and just checking the news and basically, maybe going on TikTok or Instagram or whatever, you are connecting to the matrix. And instead of allowing yourself to choose the pace and the energy for the day, you become a consumer of whatever the world has to offer. And I'm afraid that the majority of headlines, majority of news, and majority of videos you will see online or in TV or whatever are not what you want to dictate your day. The majority of them will be negative, or if they are not negative, you will feel negative about them because they're likely to cause you to feel jealous or envy or some sort of fear of missing out. It is a very different energy that if let's put the phone aside. Let's assume that you are good enough for yourself not to pick up that phone for the first 10, 20, 30 minutes, an hour. Second question is, what are you going to focus on? Are you going to ruminate on your past? Are you going to list all the things that are going wrong with your life? Are you going to think about all the things that are really making you feel upset about your day? Or are you going to think and list for yourself all the things you're looking forward to, or all the things you are grateful for, all the blessings you might have in your life? Now, this is yet again a very simple practice, a very small practice, a choice. You can sit down for 5-10 minutes and think about how the world is going in the wrong direction, according to whatever, or you can choose to focus on yourself, or even better, on yourself as you would like yourself to be. And this is where the visualization comes in. This is where meditation, prayer, whatever you want to call it, contemplation, really kicks in. Now, the point here is, if you focus on your past and on whatever is not going too well in your life, or maybe what has gone really bad in the past, you're strengthening, you're kind of replaying in your mind, you're strengthening these connections of a negative experience. In the same way, you can choose to focus on what is going great in your life, or maybe what you're looking forward to, what you would like this day to be, your intention for the day, and strengthen these connections, these thought patterns. And over time, I promised you, if you do over time, spend 10 minutes every day in the morning, simply being with yourself and thinking about all the blessings you have in your life. And there is many, let me tell you that. Just the mere fact that you can listen to this podcast proves that, there is at least 10 blessings you can list. Over time, this will become your script. Instead of waking up in the morning and feeling upset about the world, or connecting to the world, which is obviously screaming to us from the screens about all the tragedies that are happening, which is obviously going to affect your energy, you can choose to approach that world after you've come within yourself, after you've taken care of yourself. It's this selfish, selfless act of making yourself safe before you go out there, so you can be a better person for everyone around you and for the world. And we all will benefit from that. I have no doubt about it. And I guess this is where meditation comes in, right? So the author talks about the meditation practice, and especially in the morning. This is the quote: "Meditating is a means for you to move beyond your analytical mind, so you can access subconscious. That's crucial, since the subconscious is where all your bad habits and behaviors that you want to change reside. And, this is very, very much so an echo of what the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People author was pointing out, right? You can choose consciously what to focus on, and after a while of conscious effort, these focuses will become focal points of your subconscious. If you keep telling yourself again and again and again and again that every day, in every way, I'm getting healthier, better, faster, stronger, more attractive, whatever, wealthier, over time your subconscious will take that in. And it doesn't matter that it might feel like it's not true right now. The whole point of it is that it's just your opinion. So who are you to judge whether that is true or not? If you do believe that the quantum field makes, and this is what the author is sort of basing his technique on, the idea that the quantum field, in the quantum reality, everything has already happened and everything is everywhere all at once, like in that movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once, I guess, then at this moment, the way you feel is exactly how everything all at once is for you. You can be feeling as your worst self or as your best self. You prime yourself, and Tony Robbins has this practice of priming. I will actually link it below as well for you if you would like to check him out. It's on YouTube. It's quite short as well. It's an alternative, I guess, to what Joe Dispenza approaches, but very similar. This priming technique, the idea is that you're priming yourself, your subconscious mind, and also your conscious mind to feeling a certain way. And I would argue that everyone will benefit from you feeling better throughout your day. You're a nicer person to everyone when you're a nicer person to yourself, right? If you're having a good day, you're more likely to be polite to others, you're more likely to help others, and you're more likely to do and choose things and ideas and behaviors that will benefit the world rather than if you are so to speak, running through your day upset and miserable. In terms of the practical guidance and steps that the author offers, this book is actually very, very fun for you. So the benefit you will get if you get the book for yourself, whether in a form of reading, listening, whatever, is that at the very end of the book there is an option for you to basically practice all these things that the author walked you through, and you have a weekly assignment of meditation practice for your morning or evening, although the author sort of suggests both, or better morning than evening, which basically you can maybe record for yourself the words that the author offers on the page, or maybe you just want to read it a few times before you start meditating. And over the course of, I think, 6 or 8 weeks, this practice extends with more steps being added week by week. And over time, basically, the author offers you a sort of a crash course on meditating the way that this book suggests. So, I would say that's one of the very good benefits of the book itself. There is not many books on mindfulness out there that offer a step-by-step guide to meditation. And of course, this is where my perspective comes in. I don't think any meditation is better than the other. Whatever suits you will be right. But of course, if you're new to this, or if you'd like to try this visualization-focused meditation by Joe Dispenza, this book is definitely for you. Now, as I disclaimed at the very beginning of our episode, I've not actually picked up this particular habit, simply because I already have one. and it's not exactly the same. It's very similar. The major difference that to what I'm doing in the morning is I have a recorded meditation practice, which is something like 25-30 minutes. Sometimes I speed it up when I'm in a rush, which is focused on energy. So actually I am standing up when I do it. It's slightly different. Maybe in the years to come, I will share with you this particular practice. I think it's very, very suitable for me. But for many years, I've been practicing sitting down meditation. Either cross-legged or just on, sitting on the chair, somewhere that you can sit upright and kind of be in a relaxed but not lazy position, because the risk of long meditation in a lazy position is that you're gonna fall asleep. I've done that multiple times. A couple of times I felt like I'm too tired to sit up as I meditate, and then I would just wake up after 20-30 minutes and realize that I fell asleep on the mat instead of actually meditating. So I would urge you to sit up or at least sit back in a chair rather than slouch on a couch, kind of thing. The point here, though, is whatever practice you decide, I think the minimum you can do, and this is my invitation for you for this week, is to try it for at least 7 days. Although, to be honest, we've been at it for a while, guys. With all due respect, you can try something 10 minutes a day for 21 days or for a month. So I challenge you to do that. Of course, if you want to do a week, fair enough. Even if you want to do 5 days, 3 days, whatever. Although I think for maximum impact and for a true check for yourself, if you're curious whether or not it works, I bet it is. It works for me, is to start this practice that every morning, as you wake up, before you turn on your phone and go make breakfast or whatever, just take 10 minutes and either sit on the side of the bed or maybe sit up cross-legged on the floor, or maybe go into a different room, maybe light a candle or something. Do whatever you want to do to sort of create a ritual for yourself. Maybe go outside if you have a garden. That's a wonderful idea. And you don't even have to sit. You can also just walk. You can go for a walk, but go for a walk only with your thoughts, or sit down only with your thoughts. No music, no background noise, no people chatting to you, no recordings, no phone, just you, yourself, and you. Just as I do with me, myself, and I. And take those 10 minutes to list a few things that you're grateful for, to think about the exciting things that you're looking forward to in your day, and to think about 1 or 2 things, goals or ideas that you are trying to maybe become, get, whatever. Basically, kind of, to remember it well and easy. Few things you're grateful for, so establishing where you are. Few things you're looking forward to in the immediate short-term future, which is today or maybe in a few days' time. And then few things, few ideas, few experiences that you're looking forward to achieving, doing in the coming days, months, years. And as you think about them, visualize yourself, really try to feel into how it feels, how it would be. And thinking about what you're grateful for and what you're looking forward to in your immediate future, I think it's very useful, because it's a very same pattern that you can then use to visualize your future looking forward. And it's much easier, I bet, to think about how your day is going to look like today than it's easier than how your life is going to look like in 5 years, but the mechanism is the same. So in a way, you're tricking your mind, you're priming your mind, you're training your mind to visualize yourself by first recognizing what you're grateful for already. So for example, when I do it, I might think in the morning about how I'm grateful for this wonderful house that I have, or maybe for the wonderful, lovely family that I have, or a girlfriend that I'm blessed with. And I really feel that, gratitude, that love within me. And then I think about the exciting things that I look forward to in my day. Maybe it's going to be like the cool episode I'm going to do today, or maybe I'm going to go train today and I'm really looking forward to seeing my mates on the mat. Again, I can visualize it because, I've done it so many times. And then I think about my goals for the coming future, coming years, coming months. And I'm not going to tell you what goals I do have there, simply because I don't think one should share too much of their plans with the world before they achieve them. But you see the point, right? The invitation for you for this week, this month, is try it. Just, truly stop yourself from taking on that phone. Give yourself those 10, 20, 30 minutes of unbothered, undisrupted attention to yourself. And even if you want to take it a step further, write these things down. We've talked about the morning pages from the book by Julia Cameron. I'm going to write it down here so you can check it out, The Artist Way. The idea there is that you're just writing down your thoughts for in the morning, but this is even more powerful. If you can think it, that's great. If you can speak it, that's wonderful. If you can write it down, that's even better. So whatever works for you. So yeah, I hope, I truly hope and believe that if you would put this little practice daily into your life, alongside many others, but that in particular, you will make your day more likely to be good than bad. And over time, you might just rewire yourself and basically break the habit of being yourself, especially those habits, particularly those habits that you're not too happy about. So yeah, other than that, as per usual, guys, thank you so much for listening. If you are yet to become a member, please follow the button, subscribe, follow, basically that supports the channel. If you want to follow the link below and support the podcast either financially by buying me a coffee, or just send me a suggestion for the next episode, next book, or if you'd like to share the podcast with a friend, all of these are wonderful, and it's the best way of empowering this podcast to grow. So yeah, other than that, thank you so much for listening. It's a pleasure as always. And I've been talking for a while, so I'll let you go at this point. Have a wonderful, wonderfully visualized week. Stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.